Hog mollies. It is a nickname particularly. Stop. Just stop. You know what a hog molly is. You know we're talking trenches. You know we're talking offensive line. You know I'm about to give you my top 10 offensive tackles from the 2025 NFL Draft. And you know if you stick around until the end, I'm going to go over some of my honorable mentions. So without further ado, let's get into this sucker. At number 10, it's Ozzy Trapillo out of Boston College. He's 6'8", 321 pounds. He will be 23 heading into his rookie year. He is currently 98th on my big board. He's a former 4-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class. His father, Steve, actually played offensive line at Boston College and will go on to be a 4th-round draft pick in the 1987 NFL Draft by the New Orleans Saints. Now, unfortunately, Ozzy would lose his father at a young age. At the age of 2, his father would pass away because of a heart attack. And if you heard interviews with Ozzy, you just know how much this means to him to be able to follow in his father's footsteps on his way to the NFL. So Ozzy, he shows up, he redshirts his freshman season at Boston College. He would get 2 starts the next year at left guard and right guard, but he would kick out to left tackle in 2022. And he would stay there in 2023 and become a second-team All-ACC. But then he would jump to the other side and play right tackle and be a first-team All-ACC. So you love that he's got versatility on both sides of the line. And when it comes to him as a prospect, I think he's actually got some quality movement skills. Like, he's pretty light-footed, whether it's moving vertically or horizontally. He can combo block very effectively. He moves with urgency at the second level. Does become a little bit of a lunger at the second level, basically looking to get those kill shots. But that's a very common thing when it comes to college offensive linemen. So a bit of a nitpick there. And I just like how it's kind of weird. It's kind of wild. I feel like he's very, very quick with his hands, quick with his feet. But there are times where I don't want to say he feels heavy-limbed, but maybe moving the frame can be a bit cumbersome at times. And I feel like that's more so on these like stretch plays, toss plays. So we're specifically looking at maybe like wide zone, outside zone blocking schemes. Might not necessarily be ideal. I think he could play in those schemes, but I think if you're looking for a good fit, it's that gap and inside zone, because he plays with that NFL nasty. He wants to pancake guys. He wants to bury these dudes 6 feet deep, Undertaker style. Rest in peace. I got a terrible Undertaker impression, I know. So like when it comes to that, just that mentality, that demeanor he plays with, it just feels like it's more natural for like a man up scheme. When it comes to some of the things that maybe you don't like about Trapillo, easy one is you're too tall. He suffers from that tall tackle problem. When you're built like a skyscraper, then anything's going to be able to get underneath you. And he struggles to consistently sink his hips and just constantly gives up the leverage to the defender. And that becomes a problem when guys can get under you. They can just knock you back. If you don't have a strong core, then you're going to see some waist bending. You're going to be just knocked off balance. So there is a concern with that. But all in all, man, I'm a big fan of Trapillo. I see a lot of Rob Havenstein into his game. Just very technically savvy and well put together. But at number 9, it's Charles Grant out of William and Mary. He's 6'5", 311 pounds. I got him down as 23 years old heading into his rookie season. Currently 84th on my big board, and he's someone that some people, some notable draft analysts are pretty high on as a potential top 50 pick. And I feel like if he had a full off season draft process, if he wasn't hurt and was able to go to a Shrine or a Senior Bowl, maybe I would have that same feeling. Maybe he would have a similar rise to like a Gray Zabel. But for me, it's just too much guesswork. And I feel like he is more of a developmental guy as it stands right now. Granted, with very good upside. If you are unfamiliar with him, he was a former 0-star recruit. Played quarterback and offensive line and defensive line in high school. He was also an all-state wrestler, which, hey, when it comes to the offensive line, you love those guys that were former wrestlers. You really do. And for the most part, he was basically almost an immediate starter. The season got canceled because of the Rona, his first season there. But he saw 5 starts his, I guess, redshirt freshman year. And then was a starter from there on out at left tackle. He would consistently make first team all CAA. He was just a star. He was just he was punching down to some degree. He's probably a cat that you wish probably made the jump to a tougher level of competition. And that's going to be the knock. Like, I wish we saw him at a senior or Shrine Bowl where he got to take on high level competition, especially in a defensive line class like this. That would have been fun at the Senior Bowl, but unfortunately injury robbed him of that. So we're left here having to connect dots. So what is he? He's got really good length, close to 35-inch arms. He's a very good athlete, very smooth movement skills. I like him in a wide zone blocking scheme. He's got a pretty stout frame. I got him here at 6'5", but he's just under 6'5", so he's a little more stout. But that allows him to, he packs some good strength in his frame. It allows him to be a mean finisher. Because golly, again, it's something the NFL, they love guys like this. Just think Trevor Penning. They love that type of demeanor along the trenches. And I think he has that. That's something I think he's been open about, like really wanting to work on. And just to match that with his grip strength, his length, his balance, there's a lot to really like about him. It's just you get to, okay, what outside the level of competition, what are some of the things that you dislike about him? And I feel like he's really inconsistent with his hands, doesn't necessarily maximize his length. Like his hands are active during a rep, but I feel like he is just too willing to get into the defender's pads and doesn't necessarily do a good job of having to reset when he needs to, or he'll come in with low hands. So means you're sacking at the point of attack. That's not a great place to be. I do feel like we've seen penalties over if you take the last 3 years, 15 penalties, you're like, oh, that's 5 penalties a year. That's not terrible, but still, it's pretty high. He had 6 this past season. So again, we're kind of nitpicking. And if I was gonna go with a prospect, all right, yeah, I think it's more so like I was a sucker for Wanya Morris during the Senior Bowl back when he came out. Very tradesy player who had actually a little versatility to him because he played on both sides. But you knew you were dealing with a guy with a lot of good tools, but needed to work on something, specifically the hand placement. I will say I think Grant's probably a better prospect coming in, but a lot of that's in hindsight. But yeah, I expect Grant to go much higher. He just ends up falling into the bucket of I really like the tools there, but if you're gonna take him early, I'd rather be the guy that miss out on him than spend a draft pick on someone that maybe ends up never developing. Before we talk more prospects, gotta give a shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. If you download the app and sign up using promo code BROSHMO, they will match your first deposit up to $1,000 dues. It's the best place to play weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player stats. Baseball season's back, so hey, you want to get on that action, or maybe basketball. Well, they do all kinds of sports, maybe esports if you follow that. But it's a fun way to play, and if you do sign up, don't forget, it's promo code BROSHMO. But as always, please play responsibly and play within your means. At number 8, it's Anthony Belton out of NC State. He's 6'6", 345 pounds. He a big boy. He will be 24 around the beginning of his rookie year, so he is a little bit older. I think he's the oldest guy I have in my top 10. But golly, what he did at the Senior Bowl was a thing of beauty, and we'll get to in a second. So he was initially a 0-star recruit, went to Georgia Military Academy, was there for 2 years, transferred to NC State in 2021. became the full-time starter in 2022, where he started 8 games at left tackle and then just stayed there at left tackle, was a third team All ACC back in 2023. He's got scary power. He should with that frame. He is massive. He is powerful. I am offensive lineman. Hear me roar. That's kind of what he is. And he attacks with violent hands. Violent. Like, some of his punches feels like a brick going through a car windshield. He is that powerful, but he also matches that. And I feel like it kind of lines up with his explosive testing because he moves pretty well vertically. He moves a lot better than you would anticipate than what you would expect. That's why I have him as this gap tackle, maybe guard. Because again, you are going to worry about leaving him out on an island because sometimes he gets his feet tied up when having to move laterally. You can mitigate that in pass protection by just putting him in a phone booth. But if you're going to get this guy going vertical, he's going to lay some dudes out. He is someone that could have multiple pancakes on one play. The hand usage isn't perfect. Sometimes attacking with late hands and wide hands. And that has led to some penalties. He was flagged 8 times this past season. When he does get to that second level, he does have another guy that lunges, goes for the kill shot, the occasional whiff. Gets just olayed by second level defenders, but more of a nitpick. If anything, I'm looking at is he more, am I comfortable putting him out in space? Am I confident enough with the footwork? And I feel like I am. I feel like there's a lot of Cam Robinson vibes here when it comes to that, which Cam Robinson, initially, it was scary water with Cam Robinson, and one day it just clicked. Am I saying Cam Robinson's like a top 10 tackle in the league? No, but you don't feel bad if he's one of your starters. You just don't. He's a solid player. At number 7, it's Jonah Savanea out of Arizona. He's 6'4", 339 pounds. He is actually currently 21. I know you're going to see in the overlay a lot of not available. I don't know why finding the age for these offensive linemen was a task and a half, and fortunately enough, Dane Brugler brought out the beast, and I got the ages on all these guys. Thank you, Dane. But he's currently 55 on my big board. I have a top 50 grade on him. I'm actually a huge fan. He is a 3-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class and went to high school in Honolulu. So, hell yeah, I love that. That's fun. That must have been nice. But he was a starter right from the get-go. He started 12 games at right guard his freshman year, did make the move to right tackle in 2023, and then he moved over to left tackle, kind of sort of. He played both right tackle and left tackle this past season. So we're dealing with someone who has a lot of alignment versatility, not just on both sides, but at tackle and at guard. He is built like a house with legs. He is. He's got quick feet. He's got good movement skills at that size. Like, he's pretty massive and he brings good length. We're talking almost 35-inch arms. So, hell yeah, I love to see it. But he just glides across the field. This is why I love him in a zone, like a zone-heavy blocking scheme. This is why when it comes to Dolphin mock drafts, he's someone I'm thinking about in the second, maybe like he falls third, but I'm willing to take him in the top 50. I'm taking him with that second-round pick for the Dolphins. I love that. I love that for him, but he's got good full body strength. You can see it with his grip because he's got a vice. Once he sticks the meat hooks in, then you might just be along for the ride. He's explosive, has good leg drive. I mean, that's reflected in his 4.9, 5.40. So, hell yeah, love to see it. However, the pop's really inconsistent with him. Maybe it's just he doesn't have that dog in him as a finisher, and he's more of a okay, I'm gonna cover up this guy rather than okay, I can knock this dude on his butt and then look for the next guy to lay out. So maybe he just doesn't have that dog in him. He's never been someone to actually displace, but I also don't feel like he ever gets manhandled. So I don't think it's a play strength thing with him. I really, really don't. When it comes to him in pass protection, I think this is where people start to think maybe he's a guard. He doesn't necessarily always look comfortable moving backwards in pass protection. You can mitigate that again by kicking him inside, having him have less space to actually deal with. His kick slide can be a bit inconsistent in terms of depth, and there are times where he gets beat on inside moves. But again, I mean, I love this dude as a prospect. I think he does a good job in pass protection to keep his head on a swivel. I think he tested out well. And probably where I landed on was like, it was Tyler Smith, right? And I didn't love that because people are instantly going to be like, okay, so one of the best guards in the freaking league. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like, I look at him and I see Jonah as a guy that I would play him at tackle and feel okay about it. But he might end up being like a really, really good guard. So he just doesn't have the same like demeanor or nastiness that Tyler Smith has. So I ended up just putting nice guy Tyler Smith. So cool comp, I know. But I'm a big fan of his. If you have an outside zone, wide zone blocking scheme, if that's what you predominantly run, this is your guy. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the senior and Shrine Bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down because I will hunt you down. I will find you and I'll make sure you get your money's worth. Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel. At number 6, it's Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. He's 6'6", 339 pounds. He is currently 23 and is 52nd on my big board. He is a former 3-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class and didn't start playing football until his junior year of high school. So when it comes to his football life, he's still relatively young. He played offensive line and defensive end, but he also did track and field as a shot putter, did javelin, discus, and he actually placed 4th in the Missouri State Championship for the shot put. He ends up going to Minnesota, and this is during the Rona, the COVID year. So Minnesota played all of 5 or 6 games, but he did manage to get a start at right tackle. But he ended up redshirting the following season. But from there on out, full-time starter at left tackle, was a second team All Big Ten in 2023. He was a first team All Big Ten in 2024. And when it comes to the tools, you really like the tools. I like the movement skills. I think he's got quick feet, good foot speed. I think he's got solid foot play strength. He's got the length. He actually packs a pop with his strikes. I just don't think it's all come together quite yet, because you will see this, that he doesn't really use his arms independently, or when it comes to his feet and his hands, it's just nothing seems in unison. And you could tell with pass protection, a lot of that also, man, he's kind of got a funky little stance, hunched over. Gave me flashbacks of Zion Johnson back at Boston College. But was it Zion Johnson or was it Christian Mahogany? Can't recall. It was a Boston College guy. I know that for sure. But yeah, he'll be hunched over, and you're afraid maybe that will limit his explosiveness, his ability to get up and be first at the point of attack, or be able to react to what the rushers are giving him. And it really hasn't been like a big problem. Maybe he just ends up being, yeah, that's just something he does, but it doesn't really take away from anything else. There are times where he does get too tall, too aggressive. He'll sink and try to anchor in pass protection, but then he becomes susceptible to speed to power moves and just kind of whiff. And so you're kind of hoping for maybe a little bit more precision on his hand placement and his strikes. There are times where he does overset, allowing him to get beat on inside moves. But when it comes to the run game, I think he's a pretty good run defender. I think he plays with that NFL nasty. And I think Darnell Wright was one of the first guys that popped into my head. Just watching his games, like, man, he moves really, really well for a big dude. Really, really does. But there's some things that need to be ironed out when it comes to his technique, whether it be the footwork or the hands. At number 5, it's Josh Connerly Jr. out of Oregon. He's 6'5", 313 pounds. He's currently 21 and is 35th on my big board with a fringe first round grade. He's a former 5-star recruit, so there's a pedigree there. Out of the 2022 recruiting class, he did play running back his freshman year of high school, which is kind of wild. Also played basketball. Was basically a reserve his freshman year for Oregon, but then got all 14 starts at left tackle in 2023. Rinse and repeat, did the same thing in 2024. Was a first team all Big Ten. I love the movement skills. I really do. He's a really good athlete. It's reflected in his combine workouts. Just natural mover. Very smooth in his kick slide. Does a good job of getting leverage. Shows really solid flexibility. He brings length as well. Quick hands. Just able to recover quickly when he needs to. Overall, like, just does a good job of being able to get his hands when he does notice like stunters or guys coming on loops or maybe extra pass rushers. Plays with a great motor, plays with that grit. He's relentless. Even when he's losing the rep, he's trying his darndest to buy time. I know a lot of people go to that Senior Bowl rep of Mike Green just hitting the speed to power, going right through Connerly. Granted, that was like one of like 2 snaps Connerly did at right tackle. It's his first time playing right tackle. That's not normally the player we've seen on tape, or at least that I've seen. Occasionally, he will overextend, where he will lunge and in pass pro, and this opens you up to counters. This opens you up to inside moves where you try hard to be the first at the point of attack, and you just get caught off balance. So that's something I would like to see him get a little bit better at. He needs to just continue to add play strength to his frame. The hand placement, like quick hands, but they can be low, not necessarily wide. And I mean, this year he wasn't flagged a ton, only 4 penalties, so not terrible. Some people have him as tackle 1 in this class. I think this is the beginning of the part of the class where it's like, okay, you could rank these tackles all kinds of different ways. I think it's Nate Tice and Mike Tice that have Connerly as their top tackle. And in terms of upside, I believe it. I see it. And I think when it comes to shades of like Deion Dawkins, I like Connerly, maybe the floor or the ceiling's much higher than a guy like Dawkins, and that feels like I'm trashing Dawkins. I'm not. He's easily one of the like a top half of the league starter at that tackle position. But I just think maybe the tools might be a little bit better. However, that does come with, okay, maybe the floor is a little lower. I think with Dawkins, he was always going to be a safe floor. It's just, was he a guard or was he a tackle? And things worked out at tackle for him. At number 4, it's Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. He's 6'5", 312 pounds. Currently 29th on my big board, and you could argue he could be OT1 in this class, if not for the patellar tendon injury. Let's first go over the background and then we'll get into the injury, because that's honestly probably his biggest con. So formerly a 4-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class, he was supposed to play his senior year at Madison High School, but they postponed the season. And I think he wanted to stay home. He was actually pretty heavily recruited, but he wanted to stay home because he had his grandmother was near the end, and he wanted to be local. So this is why he goes to San Diego State. Redshirts his freshman year, started all 13 games at right tackle, ended up transferring to Ohio State. So immediately, I love guys that go from a lower level competition immediately to like, okay, who are the best squads out here? I want to compete with those guys. And immediately is a starter. Starts 13 games at left tackle. Looked good. 2024 comes around, started the first 6 games and was looking like he was going to be a top 10 prospect. And then the season ended patellar tendon injury. Let's talk about it real quick. So when it comes to this, the injury, it's reported that he's ahead of schedule and is no longer viewed. And to be fair, that this injury is no longer like a death nail or a death sentence, because, well, medical treatment has come away. However, it is still one of the lowest rates when it comes to pre-injury and post-injury effectiveness. It's gotten better over the years, but it's still something where you don't know how a guy is truly going to turn out till you just see him on the field. And that's going to be the tough call when it comes to Simmons. I know a lot of people who really love his tape. I think Alex from Hail Mary Sports, Marcus, that franchise guy, Trevor Sikkema, they're all really high on Simmons. It just comes down to that injury. And big reason why is you love this guy's balance, the leverage that he plays with. At 30, with 33-inch arms, I honestly thought it was longer. I thought he had pretty solid length, but he plays with good strength. He was a very good run defender the last 2 seasons, and his pass protection, I thought really came together. He just looked like a much smarter player this season. And it just comes down to it being a real shame. I don't think the hand placement was better this year, so this might be more of a like, okay, this was more what we saw in 2023 rather than the 6 games in 2024. But I felt like he played with low and wide hands. There were times where he did struggle to displace once stuck in engagement. I think that was more the case this season. But like at the end of the day, I like him in an outside zone blocking scheme. Reminds me a ton of DJ Humphries, just a very smooth mover, plays with good balance, plays with just good leverage in general. So Simmons is going to be a tough call, and it's going to be very fascinating to see where he goes. I won't count it out that teams are just scared off from him and he ends up slipping out of the first round. Coming in at number 3, it's Kelvin Banks out of Texas. He's 6'5", 315 pounds, currently 21 years of age, and he's 13th on my big board. Let's quit overthinking Kelvin Banks. He slides all over the place in mock drafts, mine included. Let's quit overthinking it. He's a hell of a good player. I think he is a starting tackle, starting guard in the NFL. He's a former 5-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class and was an immediate starter at Texas at left tackle and made second team All Big 12 that freshman season. He would make first team All Big 12 in 2023 and basically rinse and repeat, first team All Big, All SEC, but also a first team All American, won the Outland Trophy given to the best offensive lineman in college football. He had a phenomenal season. He's built like a brick house. Dude is compact. He packs a serious punch, fires off the line of scrimmage with some bad intentions. He's always looking for someone to bury. So yeah, he's a bit of a lunger at the second level. There are times where I don't necessarily feel like he struggles to locate players. I mean, shoot, there was a rep this season where I feel like he was running like 10 to 15 yards down the field with the guy that he was just trying to lay out. He was like, no, you're going to be my guy. You're my dude this play. Quit trying to get away from me. I'm coming after you. So that was kind of funny. I can't remember if he ended up whiffing it or not, but nonetheless, yeah, the dude is powerful. He plays the leverage game because he is just under 6'5", but he plays with good, I think, good knee bend, sinks the hips. He's able to get low, establish and maintain leverage. I think he's pretty light on his feet. Maybe this is more so vertically than horizontally, but I don't think that takes him out from playing a outside zone or wide zone blocking scheme. It's just not, he's not maybe necessarily as fleet of foot as maybe a Armand Membou, a Will Campbell, a Jonas Savanea. So, but he's still good in his own regard. Keeps his head on a swivel. I think he's very technically sound. I think he does a good job of looking out for stunts, extra blitzers, picking up guys in protection. I think he just does a phenomenal job of that. The hands can be a bit wide, so hand placement isn't always ideal. There are times where he is a little too quick to disengage when it comes to maybe screen plays, RPOs, or even like down the field. But I get Austin Jackson vibes. To me, like there was a lot to like with Austin Jackson. Yeah, more so. Because Austin Jackson was a very raw player coming out of USC. But since then, I think he's really put his game together. I just want to see it consistently for a full season. Like his contract year was really good. And then he started this past season for the Dolphins where it was a little dicey. But down the stretch, he was actually pretty darn solid. I was like, okay, cool. That's the guy we gave a second contract to. But yeah, man, I'm not out on Banks yet. Some people have pinned him at 13 for the Dolphins, and I don't mind it. I'm pretty. Part of me is like, hey, I'm very content right now with seeing what Patrick Paul's got and Austin Jackson maybe having a consistent full season. I'm kind of content with that. I want to fill in the left guard. I despise Liam Eichenberg. Are we going to really grab Banks at 13 to play guard? I don't love that. I think Banks, wherever he goes, he should be able to compete for a starting tackle position. At number 2, it's Will Campbell out of LSU. He's 6'6", 319 pounds. Currently 10th on my big board. And before we talk about the arm length or lack thereof, he was formerly a 5-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class. He started all 4 years in high school at right tackle, shows up at LSU, and they were like, hey, you're going to start left tackle for us. Started 3 years at left tackle for LSU, where he was a second team All-SEC, a freshman All-American, and then first team All-SEC the last 2 seasons. Let's talk about the arm length. All right. So he's got 33-inch arms as far as we know. That's what it was measured out at the LSU Pro Day. He still, tell me why that he ends up having better length at his Pro Day, but his wingspan is smaller than what it was at the Combine. Kind of wild. It's still going to be one of the smallest wingspans for a starting tackle in the NFL if he does start. Ever. And we're talking ever. It's got that going against him. Good thing is, hell of a good athlete, very fluid mover, moves very fast, looks good, looks like he's gliding out there. He's quick to get to the second level. He can combo block. He maintains good footwork, and he always keeps defenders in front of him. And you could tell, like, very smart, very savvy player, keeps the head on a swivel, is able to pick out, like, okay, they're bringing the pressure from here. We need to shift the line this way. He does a really good job of that. But the less than ideal, let's call it wingspan, so we're not referencing 33-inch arms anymore. Not ideal for tackle, even if you can make up for it by being a smart and good athlete. I felt like Pierce Skoronsky. He had some optimal length wingspan, but he was a good athlete, Smart player. Tennessee still kicked that dude into guard. Didn't even give him a chance to tackle. I don't like Will Campbell at tackle. I'm just going to throw it out there. To me, it might be tackle or nothing. But maybe that's just me doubting Will Campbell. Or at least his ability to play guard. He is so tall. He plays tall. He plays with the tallest pads in this class. He is 6'6", stands straight up, and it feels like he's 6'9". That's how tall he plays. I don't know if that works at guard. I don't think that works at guard. I say I don't know if that works at guard. That's not working at guard. Maybe he becomes more of a flexible player with a different stance, kicking inside. I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it. I just don't. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sold on him as a guard. For me, it's tackle or nothing. All right. So, what are some other things that I like about Will Campbell? I think he's got very functional strength. He does a good job of just once he gets his mitts on you, you're not really like good luck. You're gonna be on the struggle bus breaking free, especially in the run game. You're basically his at that point. However, he could do a better job, I think, of varying what he does with his hands. He's not a striker. He's more of this mauler, but he will react if he needs to with his hands. But I'd like to see a little bit more variety, I suppose. Ultimately, I settled on Bernhard Raimann. I really liked Bernhard Raimann coming out. He had suboptimal length, but he was a really good athlete. I had a first round grade on him. He goes into the third round. Been a good starter for the Colts. And then at number 1, it's Armand Membou out of Mizzou, coming in at 6'4", 332 pounds. He is another youngin here, going to be 21 years old. Currently 7th on my big board. He was a former 4-star recruit out of the 2022 recruiting class, and not necessarily an immediate starter there at Missouri, but ended up starting the final 5 games at right tackle his freshman season. From there on out, full-time starter. Started every game at right tackle in 2023, and rinse and repeat, did it again in 2024, but this time was second team All SEC. So, I love this guy. He's an elite athlete. He ran a 4.9 140, 34 in the vert, 115 in the broad, and you see it on film. He plays with quick hands, quick feet, turns the feet through contact, and I love that. I love leg drive. I think if you have leg drive, big plus for me. Doesn't matter what position you play. If you have leg drive, it's probably a good thing. He also plays with some really good urgency in the run game. He's shown the ability to mirror defenders, pass rushers very effectively. Has powerful hands. He's got some pop behind them strikes. Like, he has shown some legit dominance, I think, at the point of attack. Might not necessarily have that finisher mentality on the move, but he can move guys at his whim. It is a bit of a versatile build for him. At 6'4", 332, a lot of people will look at him and want to plug him immediately into guard, but he's got 33.5-inch arms. He's extremely good mover. I'm starting this guy at right tackle right out the get-go, right out the gate. I do believe he played right tackle all through high school as well. So maybe not someone that you want to move to left tackle, but if you're willing to take him in the top 10, you're probably okay with him moving sides. That's just something we see with first-round offensive tackles. We saw it with Joe Alt, J.C. Latham. I believe Troy Fatanu was going to do the same thing until he dislocated his knee. When it comes to the things that I don't like about Membou, we talked about the lack of a mean streak, the hand placement, quick hands, not very accurate hands sometimes, just feels misplaced, plays with wide hands, has led to some penalties. He only had 4 this past season, but he had 6 in 2023. And then there are times where I feel like he doesn't do a good job anchoring down in pass pro. And it's not necessarily against more powerful rushers, but these speed to power guys like Jalen McLeod, the Auburn tweener, the edge / linebacker. had a mean speed to power bull rush. And to be fair, like Membou did a good job of resetting his feet and at least not collapsing into Brady Cook's lap. But he conceded a whole lot of ground. So that's going to be something I'm going to curious to look out for. His ability to take on speed to power. He gives me big Michael Onwenu vibes. I loved Onwenu. I had a day 2 grade on him back in the day. Goes in like what, the 5th, 6th round. Ends up being a really good guard in the NFL, which that could be the spot for Membou with that, just with that build. But I'm riding with him at tackle. And hey, if you can't make it work at tackle, then we just shoot him into guard and call it a day. Michael Onwenu, and to be fair, Michael Onwenu, he's done a solid job at right tackle when called upon. Sure, he's a better guard than he is tackle, but I don't think he's a liability when he plays tackle. And I feel Membou could be in the same air. But let's talk about some of my honorable mentions as Cameron Williams. He was 11th on my list. He just missed it. He's just kind of a big project. It's kind of a big project. We saw that in the semifinal game against Texas, against Ohio State, where JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer just ate his lunch. He's got really good tools, but as of right now, he is just tools. Not a lot of experience with him either, so feels like a developmental guy for me right now. I do like Logan Brown. I thought he looked pretty solid at the Senior Bowl, and he's a good athlete. He really put it together, I think, for Kansas this past season. If you're unfamiliar, Logan Brown really spent a lot of time at Wisconsin after being a former 5-star and just never worked himself into the starting lineup, and ends up going to Kansas, had a good year. So traits are there when it comes to Logan Brown. And if I'm going to be real, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't love this class a ton. I just don't. There's some guys that maybe catch my eye. Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. He's got length. He actually moves pretty well. He had a really up and down Senior Bowl for the most part, though. Carson Vincent out of Alabama A&M. Total project, but you love the tools. Holland Pierce. He's a big boy out of Rutgers, but is he much more than that? I feel like with Passport Pro, his whole thing is just, I'm big and tough to get around. That's it. Like, okay, whatever. Some people like UConn's Chase Lunt. I think he's okay. He's also very old. He's 25. Then you got Jack Nelson, who, good athlete. Didn't test out, though, during the process. A little curious. There are 2 guys I still want to watch, still need to watch, but based on where I've seen these guys ranked along the consensus big board, I have a feeling, even if I do watch them, they wouldn't not made this top 10, but I thought I should mention them. As you'll see if you have my draft guide, you'll see I have a couple of players a few spots down separated from my actual rankings, and those are guys that I want to watch before the draft. One being Issa Pohl out of Washington State, and then Caleb Etienne out of BYU. But that's it for the video. Let me give a shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sticking with me this long. And of course, let me know who are some of your favorite tackles in the comment section below. That's it for the video. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.